Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about when Goatwhore started though too, it wasn't like we were going out there saying, "Oh, we're like this black metal band." You know, it was how dudes that grew up in a Louisiana scene took in influences of black metal and then created it, but also blending in like black metal, thrash metal, things like that, and kind of culminating an own idea within like a Louisiana sound.
Use EMG pickups because they help you get the heaviest tone possible. Head over to emgpickups.com and use my promo code HEAVY at checkout and get 15% off. And then once you write the heaviest song of all time, head over to distrokid.com/VIP/Garza and save 30% off your membership to get all your songs on all streaming platforms. And now to the heaviest podcast of all time.
3 cats, 2 dogs, bunch of chickens.
Oh, you're full on.
Yeah.
You have like a farm or something?
No, not at all.
It's sick. Well, dude, I'm honored we have Goatwhore here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It was cool. We're just hanging out. When was that? Like a couple months ago?
It was May, right?
Yeah, that was
Post May?
Milwaukee Metal Fest.
May.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That was a great time.
You always celebrating Christmas here every day?
Yeah, I've been told that I should take down the tree because it's confusing people, but it means something though.
Okay.
That was when we played Florida. This was a gift from George Corpse Grinder Fisher.
Oh, awesome.
So,
yeah, okay, yeah.
So he literally he decorated our bandwagon for Christmas, and we had a tree.
Oh yeah, so you definitely need to keep it up.
Sure. You know when you get a gift and you're like, I don't want anyone else in the band to take that, so then you hurry up and take it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's basically what I did.
That's good. That's awesome.
But it's fucking confusing people, you know.
Well, but you have a story behind it, so that's all that matters, really.
I put a sign right here from Corpse Grinder, right? Should I? Okay.
No. You tell the story. It's part of the whole thing. You know, somebody mentions it. You know, I see it and I'm like, okay, it's got a tree up. But then I also see people in neighborhoods that leave their lights up year round and stuff like that.
Do they really?
There's some areas I've been. Yeah.
That might be a bit much, right? If you have your lights up all year round, like Sammy, right?
Well, I just leave my Halloween decorations up year round.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But that's just normal in my house, you know.
It is.
Well, if you want to call them Halloween decorations, you know. Lots of skulls and weird stuff like that in the yard.
Sounds like Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys are you're a different breed. Like the Louisiana scene is it's kind of like its own thing, you know. It's like just a sound alone, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's also different too because a lot of the bands like they don't like Goatwhore's nothing like Crowbar.
No.
Crowbar's nothing like Goatwhore. EyeHateGod's nothing like you know. So there's like this thing where there's a bunch of bands from there, but they're all their own like entity as well. And the weird thing too is a lot of times a lot of these bands share members, but it's the other band that they're in is totally different from this other band they're in. You know.
Yeah, you can't really tell. You could sort of tell when certain members do their thing in other bands, you know what I'm saying? But it's done in a different way, if that makes any sense. And even like some of the bands that, the local bands that are there, all the bands are doing their own thing there, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no really, like he said, there's no bands there that like sound like each other. You know, because there's a whole bunch of slew of new bands that are coming out now that just are doing their own thing, you know?
Yeah, none of them sound like they're really influenced by older like New Orleans bands, but
they don't
none of them sound like them. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the bands that are up and coming now?
Oh man.
Well, we have Brat.
Brat's.
Sounding's really good.
Sounding.
I love Brat.
Heracleon.
Yeah, Heracleon.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, man, and they're all doing like their own little thing.
But then you have the whole
amazing.
You have the whole thing like Abysmal Lord and Morbid Torment and Mahinit. There's like it's just a bunch of different stuff there. That's
a logo.
Yeah, that's a really good logo.
That's a logo. That's a band name.
Great band, man. Solid.
Yeah.
Great band, great dudes.
I could only imagine growing up there now, where they have like this whole like. I mean, now it's like a legendary bands and sound. Like, you know, you have like the Goatwhores and the EyeHateGods, even go even further for like the Exhorters. Like, you have like this whole like rich scene that you probably listened to when you were, you know, when they were like 13 or 15, and now they're starting their own band that has a completely other sound.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now the whole like, I assume like the whole Louisiana scene's like starting over.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a perpetual cycle there. Not that other scenes don't have that either. It's just, it's really unique to notice that there's so many bands that are influenced by older New Orleans bands, but they don't tend to like say, oh, well, we're gonna take this sound and then we're gonna like create our own element of it. It's like they just do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of move forward with it.
It's weird there because for a while there weren't a whole lot of new bands coming out. Like, remember that? Where it was just like, it was just kind of stagnant.
It was like a dead period for a while. It was kind of weird.
When was that?
Man, that was
Probably like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
like
like
2005. I don't know.
2005.
It might be unfair to say that. Maybe our memory's just weird because there's always.
But maybe it's not. Maybe too, it's not necessarily like a bunch of new bands, but the bands like
Kind of with their own
Goatwhore, Crowbar, all those bands.
bands with like their
at
own
their
like
points.
identity and thing going on. Maybe I don't know.
It takes a while to have that what's the word? Not resurgence, but like a newer generation. It kind of takes time. Like
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're doing your thing. We're all doing our thing, and then before you know it, 10 years pass. And then like a band didn't really come out the past 10 years or 15, but it's like a whole other like cycle of people come in and like hear what's going on. It's
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of have that in common. It's crazy how long it takes to have like just to earn your stay. Because I heard that Goatwhore kind of got shit and flack when your band first came out. Is that true?
Like we kind of
it's not black metal enough. It's not this enough. It's not that.
I mean,
I
I guess-
remember those idiots.
Yeah, but you're always. I think you're gonna have that in every kind of genre in some
Totally.
sort of way. You're gonna have the people that are
Totally.
like the cult people that you got to have a certain idea, a certain regimen. A certain. It's funny because a lot of these people talk about no rules, but then they create rules internally. Like even like the quote unquote elitist type people, and they're like,
Yeah.
it can't be this way. It's got to be this way. And it's just like, well, wait a minute. I thought you said there's no rules to the game.
Isn't that weird? Like you play the music for no rules, but then you get
You
rules.
have to.
Yeah.
It's
The thing about when Goatwhore started though too, it wasn't like we were going out there saying, "Oh, we're like this black metal band." It was how dudes that grew up in a Louisiana scene took in influences of black metal and then created it, but also blending in like black metal, thrash metal, things like that, and kind of culminating an own idea within like a Louisiana sound. So we weren't sitting there with a stamp going, we're like the biggest black metal thing in like the southern United States, It's just, you have these people that come out and they'll say different things. But we were just dudes that were into like more of the earlier like stuff, like Celtic Frost, Bathory, Venom. And then we were into like more of the modern stuff at that time, which was like Emperor and bands like that, Dark Throne. And we just took those influences and kind of mixed them in with what we already had as a sound within the scene in Louisiana.
And this is I want to say because you guys met in like 98, correct?
I was earlier than that. It was like 90, because the first record we put out was like 96, 95, something like that.
99 was the
Okay.
the first record came out. But I've been knowing him for a long time though. Before that, prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
So when did we put out the first demo? That might have been around 97.
Yeah, somewhere up in there. Yeah.
How'd you guys not kill each other yet? It seems like you guys are still best friends.
Oh, he comes close sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
No, I
Trust
mean,
me.
don't be fooled. I mean, everybody across the board in every band has been together, and like sometimes people are like, yeah, it seems like you'll get along, but there's points, You get in arguments, it's a natural thing. I think it'd be totally unnatural if you were together that long and there was like never any kind of like clashes or anything like that. It'd be like, well, what the fuck's going on here?
I I think the secret is giving everybody their space and knowing when to just get the fuck away from them, you know?
Yeah, because that was a question I had for you guys. It's like, how do you maintain that kind of relationship? It's just knowing like the person or the people that you're with, and
just know when to back off and just let them be, you know. Don't try to prod them, you know.
Yeah. Does that come with knowing, like, shutting down your own pride? It's okay. Like you kind of have it going on in like your head. Hey, you say this. Say this.
Yeah.
But
But
it's not gonna end up well.
It's not gonna end well, right?
Yes, exactly. You nailed it on the head.
But I think it also comes in time, you know, in age, and you start to know somebody, and you're like, all right, well, right now is not a good time. You know, we'll discuss this at a different point, or we're not going to argue about it now because nothing good's going to be said. Let's wait till everybody kind of calms down, and then, you know, it's like like being married, but it's just you have more people involved. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of like things there you have to kind of stop and go, well, wait a minute, it's not just these two, it's all four of us, and we have to like sort it out from whatever point.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of, you know, talking here and there, there's a lot of silence here and there, there's a little bit of everything here and there.
A lot of awkwardness.
Yeah.
I love that awkward silence. I fucking love it. That's like one thing I'm like, yeah, it's awkward. It's fucking sick.
So you're the instigator of everything. Huh?
Kinda. But it's more like, it's always like, if I say something, it's always like kind of, how do you say, break the air. You know, it's like, it's always like hard. I would say something kind of dickish, but it's always like to make people laugh.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's just, we're all, and you guys, you know, you have 4 humans in a van going in a different state every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's just things are just bound to break, and you guys, you know, I see you, and you guys are all great energy and vibe. It's like, damn, what are they doing? Just doing yoga or something?
Not even
Maybe
close.
mental yoga. But that's
Mental yoga is a good way to put it, dude.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, whatever it is, you know, whether you need to like sleep or escape with some other kind of music or whatever, you know, something like that, like a mental yoga, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot of factors, man, to lead to, you know, like poor sleep, you know, or of course
me
getting
right now.
hungover, or
Robert.
the road will just wear you down, you know. Sometimes you just step away, and tomorrow will be a better day, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I'm not sure if people realize about your band, but so let's say, for example, you'll do like a month-long tour, but you don't really even necessarily get hotel rooms.
no, we did. Well, actually,
We're getting hotel rooms more often nowadays.
Now, okay, there we go.
As we get older, I think the rooms come to more perspective because
Okay,
the
good.
body is just not as fully as agreement anymore. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm not sleeping in the front seat, sitting up for 8 hours. It's not happening.
We also bring more people as we have crew with us now, so that helps.
Yeah.
Everybody can't fit in the van every night. So.
I mean, we were definitely like more
still do.
so like a DIY punk band like years back, you know?
Yeah,
Like
like
doing
it was-
metal.
Yeah, it was just us in a van. That's it,
Yeah.
and that was our house for a month or longer.
Yeah. I mean, we had times we'd do. There was one year I clocked we had toured probably over 9 months out of the year.
And that was strictly in a van, no hotel rooms, just the 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to not do hotel rooms? Sammy's, huh? It was.
No, I think it was a mutual thing,
Yeah.
you know, because also money. You know, you're trying
course.
to. You know, a lot of people have these perceptions of bands and, you know, touring and everything, and if you really dig in, like, there's a lot of like you really have to be good at money and finances and keeping things in order, because even like an off day is like, oh man, you could spend so much money on an off day just driving
Dude.
and doing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to do everything right to keep everything
Yeah.
going, and everybody thinks all this money's flowing in, but
No.
you know, it's sometimes it's not flowing in. You
Expenses.
know? So, yeah.
Expenses are fucking up. They are absurd.
Yeah. And now lately, you know, they've went up even more. So
Yeah, with like gas and fuel, and even like you can even say like a van rental.
Yeah,
You know, it's,
all of
everything
that.
is, and then our lifestyle stays the same.
yeah, pretty
But-
much.
but we keep doing it. What is that?
It's the only thing I know how to do, man.
You can't fucking stop.
And never get tired of that 45 minutes or an hour on stage. Like makes all the other bullshit worth it. Like,
It does, huh?
absolutely,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
It's like this. It's like a release without even knowing. You get it down. You get out all your craziness, and it's why like the metal bands are so. I think they're like the most chill. You know, there's just something about. I think we just go nuts, and that's all right now. Let's just sit back and do nothing.
Yeah.
And some people will drink a lot of whiskey. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to set the stage real quick. Is that so you guys are from Louisiana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not like currently people live in different areas, but the band has always been based.
It started in Louisiana.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because Zack's in Arizona, like a psycho.
Yep.
And Robert, are you still in Texas?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Austin, Texas, beautiful. It's probably growing way fast right now.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. I still love it though. I travel the country a lot. There's nowhere I go, oh, I would love to leave Austin and move here. Austin's a great place. It's getting out of hand, but it's a great place.
It's home.
Yeah. More home than anywhere else has been for me. I've been there 22 years.
22 years? Oh shit.
Planned on living there 3. Been there 22. Almost 22.
Oh shit.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen like that crazy growth of that town.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I mean, you guys came up in like you're talking like the '90s, and like I go, like, how was like the '90s? You even say early '80s, like Louisiana heavy scene. Because I mean, you guys came up and experienced a time that we don't know.
Well, it's crazy. It's like, Crowbar and EyeHateGod were active during that time, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other big one? Graveyard Rodeo and Exhorter. They were all still doing stuff back then, But it was scary back then.
Was it?
Yeah, I guess because I was so much younger, and there was this huge like hardcore scene there with all these really, how can I put it? Undesirable people involved.
Oh my goodness. Uh-oh.
And just make the shows no fun.
Dang, really?
Like, it was some wild shit happening back then, man.
You guys probably had like real pits.
Yeah, very
Real.
Very.
Oh, they had some chaotic shows.
Very violent.
I remember like DRI touring, on crossover and stuff like that. It was like DRI Creator Holy Terror at this place, Storyville Jazz Hall.
I was at that show. That show was insane.
And I was standing in the back watching the whole floor chaos, but then watching lines of people on each side of the PA lining up to dive off the stage, and it was just like this whole machine that just kept going. It was crazy shit, man.
So it's just a scary state, a scary place.
And Exhorter, when Exhorter played, the shows were chaotic.
That was crazy.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but they're kind of known to be like the pioneers of this, like the sound that would eventually become like the like New Orleans, like heavy sound. Am I wrong there?
I'd say a big part of it.
A big part of it, yeah.
I mean, because we had Exhorter, we had Shell Shock.
Shell Shock, okay.
We had, actually, crazy is Shell Shock eventually turned into what is Crowbar, because it was a band, and then one of the guys died in it, and then Kurt got in it, and they called it Aftershock. And then it moved on from there, and then became like Requiem, and then the Slugs, and then became
Slugs
Crowbar.
is sick. Is that them?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Screaming
What
is that? No,
that's not them.
That's not it.
That's not them.
Yeah. That one right there.
Yeah.
That's Shell Shock. Yeah.
Execution time. Okay, wait, the date is
1981 to 87.
Wow!
I saw him in '87 on the More Gore tour.
Yep. Yeah, look up the record More Gore that they put out. That was another thing. And they were on the verge. They did a lot of shows with a lot of like hardcore-ish, like thrash crossover bands back in the day, and they were about to get signed, and then
More Gore. There it is.
Yeah.
It's someone. It's someone falling off into a pool, an empty pool. And they
people have like signs up giving their rating on.
Oh wow!
I still own that shirt from '88.
Yeah. But
still have
I
mine.
think actually too. I think Phil's label was supposed to, or they did put out a couple of re-releases of Shell Shock stuff.
What's his label called again?
Housecore Records.
Housecore. Okay.
Yeah.
So they put out the Shell Shock.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
so-
it's like it was them. Like a big thing was them, and then this band Graveyard Rodeo, and Graveyard Rodeo would do a Halloween show every year at this VFW hall on Franklin Avenue in the city, and they'd have this thing called a Splatter Fest, and they'd make homemade like splatter horror movies, and they'd play it in between like bands. They'd put up like a
that's
curtain with a
sick.
projector, and they'd play these little like homemade like horror movies.
What year is this?
Oh, it was like 80s, like 86, 87, 88. Up
How
in
they
there.
figure that out?
Actually,
Creative-
some of the guys in
creative.
some of those bands like went like I know one of the guys in Graveyard Rodeo ended up going into the medical field. So that's people always think we're not so intelligent people, right? And they got some dudes that come out to be mad geniuses,
Everything's coming out of your state.
Yeah, so the Graveyard Rodeo. And look, the old acid bath.
The original acid bath.
Yeah, there was an acid bath before.
Same?
Yeah.
Same area?
Yes.
Well, it was New Orleans, and then
It was Kevin Thomas, Kyle Thomas from Exhorter's brother, was the first acid bath, but we got permission from them to take the name.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that show. I actually went to that one. It's a Halloween.
I was at that show too.
You see the third annual splatter show.
That's sick.
So
you-
great VFW Hall on Franklin Avenue. They ended up tearing it down, and they built like some building there.
Of
But
course.
all the shows were at that VFW Hall. Like everybody, Henry Rollins played there, Circle Jerks, DRI, COC, everybody like back in the day played there pretty much.
So everyone from your scene or anyone that was national came that this is like the place that you gotta play.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a crazy fucking flag.
And it was funny because it was like these two
Look at that
old
flag.
like vet guys, because it was a VFW that worked like the little bar, and it'd be like $1 beers or whatever, and they just sell them to anybody.
Yeah, and not
at the
dollar.
show.
Like, they could be 13 years old. They'd sell you up here.
Because the shows were all ages, and they just sit there and they'd sell, And then that one, like Tipitina's, that was a place. It still exists, actually, Tipitina's.
Does it?
Yeah, but there was a lot of shows that went on there. It was definitely a bigger venue too.
Okay.
Was it always in that same location?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was always the spot. Yeah. Yeah. I saw the craziest show I ever saw at Tipitina's was this band. I'm pretty sure they were based out of California. They're called Crash Worship. And it was a tribal thing.
I
It's
saw that.
basically kind of like where Sepultura and Neurosis got like their tribal elements from. So this band Crash Worship did all this stuff in these tribal things. And their shows were like, it was like a religious experience. And they'd have like I like Babylon or
It was
something. They'd be
almost
passing
like-
around like jugs of wine, and they had like these like throne things
there
that
in
people
there?
would carry.
Yeah.
And they would,
Oh.
I
but they
saw
would
them doing
do
a
the
parade down the
craziest
street. Yeah,
stuff,
it was
and they
nuts.
played at Tipitina's. And when I saw them at Tipitina's, the show ended, but they weren't done.
came out to
the
the
venue was
street.
like, and they went out on the street in the median, and they stayed out there till 6 or 7 in the morning, still playing out in the median.
Is there video of this somewhere, you think?
It's possible, but I saw them a bunch of times, and it was always an amazing show.
I saw them at
Amazing.
Tipitina's. I was sitting, me and my ex-wife were sitting there eating, like outside table. Here comes a parade of all these people with drums and costumes and fire. And we're like, I'm going to follow that and see where it's going. Ended up at Tipitina's seeing
Yeah.
that fucking show. It was incredible.
What is going on here? What is? Oh. Okay.
It's a bunch of people on acid tripping out, doing some weird shit.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's a bunch of people on acid tripping. Oh, 97. Wow, dude. Okay.
Yeah, and they had all these weird like instruments too, because they had
They made
tribal
their own-
drums, but they made like these weird like instruments as
They were a
well,
great
like
band.
stringed instruments out of like.
Do I see
like a-
trumpets?
Yeah, they had all kinds of stuff, and they did because it was also kind of really like industrial a little bit in a way.
Very much.
But then it had like way more of like a tribal element to it. And like I said, they would pass around wine. What was that place? The Angel?
Yes.
They played there one time
Yeah.
too. And it was like they had a thing with like 8 people carrying this thing with a girl nude with like covered with grapes and stuff. Like it was like modern day Babylon in a sense.
Yeah.
And they pass around like jugs of wine and people are drinking and the band's going off and there's like fire and all this crazy shit. When they did the thing at Tipitina's too, they pulled that thing. It looked like a Trojan horse out the back of a rider truck, and they pulled it out and people were climbing it and everything. It was really fucking cool. I'm glad I got to witness a lot of those shows when I was young.
So these are the type of shows that you're going to when you're young.
Yeah.
That's a crazy way to grow up and see music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so, I don't think you realize. Like even I don't know what that's like to grow up in that kind of crazy scene.
No, but you know what's unique is, so, okay, I grew up in that, and that, like, when you watch things nowadays, you know, and, like, when you meet kids and they're just like, wow, you know, and they want to hear all the stories. But they won't ever duplicate that, but they are at the point where they're creating their story right now.
Sure.
You know, we had our moments where we did our stories, and we're still building our stories.
Yeah.
But those will never be duplicated whatsoever. We were involved in them, all of us, you know, whatever shows we went to, things like that. And we have stories. And the younger generation shows up and they're like, oh, they want to hear about these stories, but then they are creating theirs like right now.
It's true.
You know, and they're different and they're variant, but you can kind of see like back then you didn't have a lot of, you know, with the cell phones and all that. So you have some of these old videos, luckily, that somebody did with a camcorder or something like that. And
A camcorder
because
video.
I'm sure some people, if I would have told some people about Crash Words, they would be like, "This dude's making this shit up," you know.
And that's why we've got videos playing right now. If you're watching, so that this shit is real. It's true. So how old were you? And this is late '80s.
Yeah.
So
I'm 50 right now.
So you're 50 right now. What are we here? You're like 17, 18?
A little bit older than that, somewhere up in there. You know, I'm ass off right now, so.
Sick. That's a crazy way to come up in like a music scene.
Well, so the shows at the VFW hall, there was a real kind of like bad area of town too, where the VFW hall was. And when I was growing up, I was lucky enough that my dad worked for the railroad company, and his work wasn't far from there, and he knew the area, and he would drop me off, and there was a payphone near the venue. He's like, when the show's over, you call me. But I had a lot of friends. I mean, I lived in the suburbs too at that point, and I had a lot of friends, and their parents were like, no, you're not going down there. So I got to go to a lot of shows, and my dad was so willing to be like, I'm gonna drop you off, and then when the show's over, call me from this payphone, and I'll come pick you up. You know, whereas some parents are just like, no, you're not going to that area. There's no way we're letting you go out to these shows. So I'd say I was pretty fortunate with that whole aspect as well.
Was the venue like a safe space, or what was the?
Yeah, like once you got in it and everything, or outside and you're hanging out, it was definitely but the whole like area of town around it was really
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how some venues like work out that way, where like you're in like a bad area, but if you're at least in the outskirts of that one building, that small building, it's like you're fine.
Yeah,
I've always wondered why that's like a thing.
It's like self-policing or something. I don't know.
I don't even know it was there because I don't really remember security. It was like the two old guys that they were vets and they were working at the VFW hall, and there was somebody like working the door. But I just think it was just this thing, and I don't think people really bothered with it because all the people I guess looked like freaks in a sense.
Sure.
Especially for that time period, and people were like in the area might be like, oh, we'll just they can keep to themselves. We won't get involved.
Interesting. Real curious, Sammy, did you ask for the band name? So you asked for it?
No, we didn't realize it till after the fact.
Oh.
And then we ran into the guys and we're like, yeah. And they were like, it's cool, don't worry about it.
What are the chances of same town, and the same band name, same time?
Who knew? I don't know. It was actually
Fought for it, right? You fought for it?
Huh?
You guys fight it out?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
I want all the details. Let's go. Who bit whose ear off? What happened?
Dude, if someone took my band name, I'll be fucking pissed.
But they weren't really. They were more like a joke band. The original one.
Oh, okay.
They weren't like they wouldn't
makes
play.
sense.
They wouldn't play a whole lot. They had like a bunch of funny songs and stuff about some wrong shit that I probably shouldn't talk about.
Yeah.
But it was just like they were like, okay, it's not a big deal. Go with it.
What are the chances of that? It's crazy.
I honestly, this is what I think. I've never got a 100% answer behind this, but the drummer for Acid Bath is the one that presented the name because we were originally called Golgotha, and we were changing. We wanted to change the name and whatever, you know how it is. And he presented the name Acid Bath, and we were all like, "That's actually cool." So I think at one point in time he might have saw the other Acid Bath and said, "Well, they're not really doing anything, so I'm just gonna jack this name."
It was funny because when I first saw actually the flyer with it, like, because I remember Acid Bat, like the old one from when I was growing up, and then like it kind of like went on a hiatus or it just disappeared for a while, and then I saw it again. I was like, "Oh damn, they must have got back together."
Oh wow.
So
They're back together, sick. That was a different band, what the fuck?
I'm pretty sure the drummer saw the name somewhere around and was just like, I'm just gonna take this real quick.
that might be something he's taking to his grave.
Yeah,
Got
it's possible. Yeah, he won't admit it. His explanation was, well, we took a lot of acid back then when we were in that band, so that was definitely an influence on the whole thing. So I think he wanted to kind of have that seep in some kind of way, with the band.
So, since you touched on it, so you've done acid.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
How does that? Okay, so you're talking to someone that's never done acid. I never done acid. Never done heroin. So,
that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Don't do heroin. It's a terrible drug.
Okay. What does that do for you? Like as far as like you're playing, like what? Like does that?
Like when you're on acid?
So are you doing it and then like okay the next day okay I'm gonna just riff? Like what's that? How does that affect your playing and writing?
Well, you're definitely going to a different mental mindset. That's for sure. I mean, because I've played on acid before.
Oh my goodness.
And I've had great experiences, and I have had terrible experiences. Like, there's a couple of times when I like walking on stage, and it was like hitting me, and it felt like the guitar strings were just like stretching off of the neck, like kind of like a piece of yarn, like an elastic. Like you could just pull it off, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?" And like the stage lights felt like they were going through my body.
Back then, stage lights did. Those lights were so.
They were real light. They were actual hot.
Cans are so expensive, so hot.
Yeah.
Damn, this light's going to my fucking body right now.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's weird shit happens. I don't recommend playing on acid in front of people.
Okay, we're definitely not going to advocate it.
I would like to.
I'll try it.
But I mean,
Advocate it 100%.
if you're
Just not on stage.
Yeah, I would suggest sitting. Like if you're in a good mood and you feel like writing some stuff, take some acid and see what happens.
Okay.
Don't try to do that in front of people when you're trying to do something responsible.
Because I'm sure you're in a crazy like other state of being, and you have other humans look at you. That sounds fucking weird. Like I can't even smoke weed and play because I could just like I probably freak out when like these humans are like they're like here and they're in the same room and they paid money and they're like looking at us. It's weird.
Yeah, but like when I would take acid while I was playing, it was almost like I could only see half of the people, like from like the chest down. Like I couldn't really focus on anybody's faces. It was always just like a big black cloud over everybody's heads. It was weird.
Wow. So I mean, are you just trying to like compose yourself? It's like, okay, I'm gonna play this riff, dude. Even though this is like a fucking shoestring.
Yeah, shit's falling off the neck. I don't know what's happening right now, but yeah, I'm gonna try and not freak myself out. You know.
What did you think happened after? Like, I killed it.
I don't even think I realized I played after. I just kind of kept going.
Wow, that's a interesting way to. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I just got off. I think I just got off the stage, packed up all my stuff, and just kept going with the trip.
You just kept going.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you didn't even process it.
Yeah.
You're wrapping a cable and it just takes you like an hour.
That's definitely happened.
Turns into a snake.
Turns into, yeah.
This is like a cable of life, dude.
Probably some weird shit like that happened. Yeah.
What year is this, Jay? Is there a date on this?
What year? I think that's maybe 95.
96?
96, yeah. It was close.
I mean, because I mean, just your state alone, it's just like the bands and the music coming up, but you have like, you guys, you have Soilent Green, like what, and just has like this sound to it. It's like I had to stop when I was driving up here. It's like any band that came from there just hit chords differently. There's something to the voice that sound nothing like any other band, but even in their voice, there's just something to it. It's just different, It's like what was that?
Acid. Everybody taking drugs.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm sorry. I'm not being professional right now.
I don't know. I think it's just the attitude of the people down there. It's different than anywhere else. Like if you go to Louisiana, just in general, there's the people's demeanor there.
Yeah,
it's way different than anywhere else on the planet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of its own thing, and I think that kind of seeped in, like just the personality of yourself kind of seeping into the music. You know what I'm saying? And just doing its thing and not really worrying. When we down there, we don't really worry about what's going on with the rest of the world. We just kind of do our thing, and that's it,
Yeah, what was your upbringing like? What's it like growing up there?
Well, I grew up like in the swamps.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Like Caucasian country, big time. So my growing up was pretty boring, It's just a lot of very religious area, you know what I'm saying? Like
really?
This is the normal thing there is everybody goes to church on Sunday, and it's a boring little town, you know what I'm saying? So growing up, I was pretty bored,
That's bored.
Yeah.
So you're surrounded by like the church kind of going maybe circle, but yet it's okay. Like, what do I do? I don't. It's like what you just sit at home,
sit at home and watch TV, and luckily I had some friends that got into some weird stuff that turned me on to this, like just more heavier music. I had an uncle that he was like known for the area where we lived called Galliano, Louisiana, and he was known for being like a freak, basically. Like, he was the only guy out there that, he was known for smoking weed and stuff like that, It wasn't really popular down there. But he was the one that turned me on to a lot of the stuff that I got into. Like, the first time I ever heard Black Sabbath was with him. And he had a guitar, and that kind of led to where I am now,
So you heard Black Sabbath, you heard, Judas Priest, KK Downing, and
That's where it all started.
This is it.
Because it all kind of snowballed from my uncle having a guitar and listening to Black Sabbath while he smoked weed. And then I'm like, well, there's got to be something else out there. So I just met up with some friends that just was like, well, check out AC/DC. That's cool, too. Or check out, Judas Priest. And that just kind of snowballed into me searching out heavier music,
And how old were you then?
When I actually started learning how to play guitar, I was maybe around 13 or 14.
Good age.
Somewhere around there. But I started messing around with a guitar when I was maybe like 10, but I wasn't actually learning how to play properly. You know what I'm saying?
Still can't, huh? Yeah.
That's okay. I'm still looking for somebody. I'm still looking for somebody to teach me.
Yeah. Okay, so is this it? Lake Martin? What's the
No,
population
that-
here?
No, Galliano.
That's Lafayette.
That's
you gotta go.
Lafayette. You have to go more east and south.
So and then when does the acid come into play?
Huh?
So when did the acid come in?
The acid? Oh, that was after you started meeting your friends and stuff, and
There you go.
There you go.
but the acid, I didn't take acid until later on in my life.
Good.
I wasn't really like,
Oh, you're in there, dude.
Yeah, that's deep.
yeah, that's it.
You are in Louisiana.
That's it right there.
Oh wow.
The middle of fucking nowhere.
I wonder what the population is.
Probably, I would say maybe it's not that populated because
Yeah,
it's so
that's
small.
big, dude.
Yeah.
7,014 as of 2020.
That's 2020, dude. Back then it's even less.
Yeah.
So I mean, everyone knows each other. We're,
Yeah,
we're all going to church, and you find this group of misfit friends. They have a Black Sabbath tape.
It was actually on vinyl, yes.
Oh, vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I remember my uncle had it sitting out in his room. And it's the first album with the witch on it in front of the house. That real
Yeah.
creepy looking picture.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I don't know if I want to listen to this. This looks weird. And that's how it all started.
And it went.
Yeah.
So I started playing music.
Yeah.
It's insane to see how far Goatwhore has come. Played together for so many years and still touring full time and doing it. You guys should be very, very proud.
Yeah, it's
It's the only thing
really
I know.
unique.
Yeah, I don't know how to do anything else. This is the only thing I know how to do.
So let's just do it.
This is just do it, yeah.
So you've seen like the crazy swings of where you grew up, and seen like this scene blow up of like the EyeHateGods and the Downs and you go on tour full time. You've probably seen like the ups and downs of the whole genre as like a whole, as opposed to like just
yeah.
this sound, just this genre. You've probably seen this, and still, and it's so weird that we do that. It's like if it's low, we keep doing it. If it's high, keep doing it.
It's like ebbs and flows, I mean,
Yeah.
And no, it's not going away. So it's like,
No.
how you remember when people used to say like rock's dead and all that stuff. None of it ever died. It pretty much goes back to the underground,
Yeah.
restructures itself and comes back out in like a different, more extreme version, and that whole step keeps getting further and further along. Like even if you look at like the point of like Pantera and then like Slipknot, like the extremity point of like metal and how like being popular and how far it's gone.
Yeah.
It's and it's the peaks and valleys, and
and
but
valleys.
it doesn't die. I don't think it just goes somewhere else, and then the people that sit more on like a mainstream kind of level just lose wind of it because they don't keep track of it. But it's always been there, and it's always doing stuff. It's just not always at the top.
Yeah, it's weird when you hear something when you're young, and it just kind of gets ingrained into your brain. Like, let's say like a perfect example is like the Rock is Dead thing. I remember hearing that as like a teen, but for some reason it goes deep in the back of your brain, and you just think like this whole thing's gonna go away at some point. It's so weird how some things just stay with you.
Well, what's funny is they used to do that, and they used to say like where they are now and stuff like that, in arts, and just like you see people that are still doing things, and people are like, wow, I can't believe they're still doing it. It's like they had a lucrative career. People enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not going to go away.
Yeah. It's so if you get like the look, it's like wait, oh you're still doing that? It's still going on tour. I'm like,
It's like I don't say, oh, you still working at Home Depot? It's like I don't do that. It's like, yeah, if you enjoy something, then you stick with it. Yeah, if you
just keep
like
doing it.
the Home Depot thing, then you stick with it. And if you do it good and awesome,
no matter what. Just,
you just stick with something you really like and you go with it.
You're still putting out badass tunes, great records. Everything's just consistent. It seems like you guys just never just lost it. If it makes any sense. Lost it both as musically and more importantly morale. Because morale could easily go away.
It is,
know?
but you know what else helps too? Like when Zack got into the band, you know, he was younger, and sometimes that younger thing, it like revives like a
100%.
blood. It's like a resurgence, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, or you come across somebody that's younger, another younger band that's from your scene,
Love
and
that.
It kind of like rekindles things.
It does.
Because you're
It's
like,
weird.
holy shit, these kids are doing this, and I remember this and how this felt, and it kind of rekindles everything again.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how that works on, and just for some reason this makes you kind of fired up to write more shit. I think it's important to hang out with younger bands. Or,
Yeah,
or younger people, or handsome like Zack here. So it's very established like the look too, right?
Yeah. And not only that, the younger person's also interested in like your stories and what you were listening to, and so it's kind of like a mutual thing, and it kind of feeds off of each other. So
yeah. Zack, you ever ask him any questions?
Yeah, all the time, man. It's probably all the questions are probably answered by this point. But yeah. But I remember first joining the band and just kind of, it must have been annoying, having a 17-year-old.
17?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wow.
just totally green and just kind of learning the game and also just being a huge fan of their past bands, and then the band I was like actually joining, and it was kind of a trip looking back, and it's funny to think about now.
Okay, so you see him, and he's 17. If it's like, oh no, he's not ready. No, he's too immature. No, he's too green. That was like a leap of faith.
I don't think we were looking like when you have people come in to try out, you're not necessarily looking at their age or their green. You're looking at their ability as a musician.
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
Of course.
That was our main focus.
You're like, wow, this person does a really great job. I mean, you probably came in there at 8 years old and been like, all right, I guess your parents have to come out with us now.
Man,
So I'm sure, you played in bands and it was like the abilities of people.
Of course.
That were like the main thing. Like
totally. That's true. Yeah, we had a dad that lied about his son's age, and he was young, but he tried out and was like, he lied about his age, his dad, but his playing ability was just like, wow. And it was great, phenomenal. It was a drummer too. Yeah, drummers tend to be younger.
How old was he?
See, we were 16, 17. He was like 13, maybe even younger.
wow.
And they said, yeah. His dad said, yeah, he's like 17. we're like, okay, cool. But it's funny how like your ability would definitely speak louder than anything.
Yeah,
really.
totally.
And sometimes we'll deal with a personality we don't want to deal with. If he's that sick. Which tends to be the drummer. So having a cool drummer come in, it really lights a fire under your ass. It feels good, Did you go straight into full-time touring? What happened?
So when they told me, you got the gig basically. I'm like, well, I have to graduate high school first, so I got that out of the way, and then a week after I graduated, I drove my truck. My mom helped me drive all my gear down to New Orleans and dropped me off at Ben's house, and I was like, all right, here I am. And then we started rehearsing, and then the first tour we did was with Black Dahlia Murder for their first record, us, Cattle Decapitation, Watch Them Die. Went and did that, and that was straight into Deicide, Goatwhore, Cattle again, I think.
Yeah.
And then into Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death. So it was just like, you're thrown to the wolves, and I was loving it. I'm like, it's just straight from high school, being able to...
Dang, dude, that's crazy.
Thrown into one of your favorite bands. It was a trip, man. It was cool.
You went into some crazy tours.
Yeah.
You guys must have really believed in them. That's kind of like it's kind of a big deal. Like, okay, well, let's just throw them into two fucking... Because you don't know how people react. Because once you leave the house, things change.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, looking back, it still surprises me just like the amount of learning that was crammed into that short period of time and adjustment, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just whether with take away the touring aspect. Just you're in a foreign town for the first time, you know, kind of living on your own with people much older than you that you respect, but you don't really know yet, and then you're learning how to, you know, tour and be professional in that aspect too. So yeah, it's crazy the amount of learning.
And then you know, you didn't have as much like now, you know, with like YouTube and all these different things. You can see people, you know, they have all these channels or things, and you can see how people are as musician wise. This is just like, then it's just like you're bringing people in, and we're like, okay, you tell a bunch of people learn these songs, and then they come in and you jam, and it's like if they play it, they play it. If not, you know, and then you see how they play it or whatever. You know, we had a few people to like come try out. So.
That was like you're like it was.
Yeah.
Interesting to put it the lightly.
So on their website, they had like a list of 6 songs to learn for the audition, but I had seen them a lot in Phoenix. My like local band had opened up for Goatwhore, and I had a set list from one of their past shows. So I learned the 6 songs. So we went through those, and they're like, "Well, you want to play anything else?" I'm like, "Let's do this. Let's do this." So I learned the whole set list basically.
So you guys pretty much know.
He was like we learned a lot of songs and more. So we were just like, he's great. Let's just roll with him.
Yeah. How were the interesting ones?
Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Sick.
There was some guys that came in from Oklahoma City, and I don't even think this dude knew how to play drums, period. Like, it was just, if you remember that dude?
Yeah.
Like, he physically could not play drums. Like, I guess he was like, I'm going to come try out for Goatwhore. You ever played drums before? No.
What?
Seriously. Am I wrong? You remember that dude, don't you?
Yeah.
How can you forget?
Like now it's so much more, you know, like you could say, oh, we'll send a video of you playing something, you know. It's like none of that. It was none of that.
No, it was just
people
like
were coming in, and you were just like,
hopefully,
all right, we'll just have to jam with people and see how things go, you know. So it was a thing, like a feeling base.
Yeah.
Dude plays the stuff, and you're like, this feels great.
Of course.
You know, it feels
good.
like we're not like even missing a beat with anything.
Or like this dude has not touched a drum in his life.
That's a sick tryout.
No, I just figured I'd just show up and try.
Yeah,
know, see,
I just want to come hang out with you guys, you know.
Fuck, dude, that's insane. You know what? In a weird way, that does take a lot of balls. You know what? I'm just gonna go audition for this band. I haven't played drums in my life. I'm just gonna walk in at least with the drum set. It's just,
dude. That was an interesting time. Let's just put it that way.
What were you guys thinking?
I was like, I'm gonna kill this dude. I was pissed, man. It was like, why is he wasting my time like this? You know.
That's awesome. There it is.
Well, how did you jam with Zack? Did you fly out or drive over? What
it was the spring break of my senior year, so I flew like to visit my grandparents in Arkansas, and my grandfather drove me down to New Orleans. Did the audition. I was like, all right, cool. See what happens, and kind of went back home, finished out, you know, schooling, and.
You guys had a PO box? Sick.
Sammy sent me a message. He's like, so you got the gig. When can you move down here? I was like, well, I have to graduate school and did all that. And yeah.
Holy moly.
It was cool to, you know, because I guess now, like Ben said, you know, the process of auditioning, these, you know, nowadays, you just send a video or whatever. But it was cool to be able to be in a room and jam together, you know, and kind of at least meet each other beforehand, and you know, instead of just going in cold, like, oh, your video's great, and then you find out this dude's a total fucking whack job or something.
Which is a high possibility.
You never know.
It's really high. So the fact that you're like a sane person is
relatively.
You know how it is. If you're a decent hang, so you're like ahead of the rest. You know,
yeah.
It's tough. So this is what you actually saw, though. This is what you saw.
Yeah, it was on your old website.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Looking for a new drummer. 2005. Holy crap! All right, I have to ask because this is I have questions sometimes that people are afraid to ask. This is when it's me. How do you say New Orleans? Is it New Orleans or New Orleans?
It depends where you're from.
Really?
Yeah.
But I don't suggest you say Nolans
New Orleans.
in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Don't say that. You're going to get robbed.
Okay.
Because that's like a surefire.
You are not from here.
Yes, you're not from here. You're a tourist, and I'm going to rob you.
Okay, so it's okay to say it outside, but if you're in Louisiana.
In Louisiana, don't say Nolans.
Yeah,
It's not,
okay.
say it New Orleans or New Orleans.
Okay.
Don't
got
make
it.
the whole one word, how can I put it?
You got to really pronounce it.
Yeah, because that's a sure sign of a tourist, and you don't want to make that very known when you're in New Orleans.
Yeah. So they're both welcomed.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, which one is it? I mean, I've asked people. I'm like, I get like 2 answers. I'm like, okay, I'm stuck at square one. So
Yeah.
it's both. It just depends what area.
Yeah.
You know, what do they in Mardi Gras? Is that?
I fucking hate Mardi Gras.
I knew. I always wanted to ask someone that's from there.
Dude, it's such a pain in the ass, dude. I mean, I could see it being a good time for people that's never been there. They want to go there and just get completely shit-housed.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes. But for the
When
people
when you're younger.
When you're younger, yes. The older you get, and like when you live there, it's fucking horrible.
Yeah, you try to figure out like how to get out of there
Yeah,
before
'cause
it
they
happens
block-
when you get older.
yeah,
You're
they-
like, I need out of here before this goes down.
Yeah, they block off, like, it's just pain in the ass. And like every time around Mardi Gras, we have a tour coming up, so we have to rehearse around Mardi Gras, and getting the
No.
fucking practice is a pain in the fucking ass.
Because it's like 2 to 3 weeks leading up to Mardi Gras Day. There's like parades and all these things.
Oh.
So, and they do a lot of like street closures and everything. And it's going on not just in the city, but like in the suburbs and other areas. too.
It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And like where I was living for a period of time was like literally a block off of the parade route.
Oh no.
So and like my house was just swamped with people all like during that whole period of time. And just people pissing and shitting and just fucking vomiting everywhere. And like all
On acid, you
on,
know.
all on acid,
You know?
screaming at all hours of the night, you know, just it sucks. I'm not a big fan. I'm glad I got the hell out of there.
That sucks. So when was the last time you guys actually went there?
But if you've never been,
If
you
you've
know,
never been, I see it being a good time.
Yeah,
but I'm
It's-
just over it.
Yeah,
I'm just
if you live
fucking
there,
over. Yeah,
because after a while, like when you're a kid, you don't have to worry about it. But you get older, and you're like, okay, I got to get down there. If I drive down there, I got to find somewhere to park. You know,
it's a
then I have
whole
to. Then I'm gonna get
ordeal.
totally blown out, fucking drinking, and then how am I gonna get back to where I need to get? You know, so
Without getting robbed.
yeah.
oh yeah.
Because I don't want to say New Orleans wrong, you know.
Or,
yeah.
or get arrested for being drunk in the wrong spot at the wrong time. You know,
Pissing in
you
the
know,
wrong
the-
place.
Pissing in the wrong place is a big one. It's so tough because when you're hammered and you're walking around, like you're like, okay, let me just go in the corner and piss. But man, it's a big deal.
It's a real struggle. That many
cops see
people,
you.
there's not a lot of you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's pissing is it's a challenge.
You just piss on somebody. Fuck it. What's the? I've always was curious on the connection between New Orleans and Texas. What is that connection?
What do you mean? Like, you mean Louisiana and Texas?
Yeah,
Or,
it's always no. It's like a
well, we share a border.
yeah.
You know,
What is it like?
A state line.
It just feels like the whole Pantera sounds kind of really closely related. Obviously, it feels from there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like there's just more to it though. It's like the sound kind of feels like it's coming from Louisiana, but it's from Texas. It's in Texas. I'm like, what? I've always wondered, like, one to ask someone was from there, like, what is there a connection, or is that just a coincidence?
I mean, there might be. Well, when I was growing up, there was a lot of tours too that didn't come to New Orleans because New Orleans isn't like a main city as far as the touring.
Yeah,
route
it's not.
goes. So, Houston was like the big spot for shows. And it's like a 5-hour drive from New Orleans. And so I would pack up with some friends and we'd drive out to Houston to go to shows. You know, we went and saw like Morbid Angel during like Altars of Madness. We went and saw Entombed. We saw a bunch of shows in Houston, but they were not coming to New Orleans. You know, so we're like, we'll drive to Houston and go see them. And so that was a big thing too, is driving to Houston to go see shows. Sometimes Dallas, depending. Dallas is like 8 hours, but if they wouldn't be in Houston, it'd be in Dallas, and we'd head to Dallas and go to shows. You know, I think too, like if you look at it as far as a band goes, like say when you started with Suicide Silence, okay, and you were doing shows and you do like the weekend thing, right?
Yeah.
And you'd pick something within an 8-hour radius,
Yes.
so you could go drive, hit another one, then be able to get back for the week or whatever. So that was like the radius was there. You know, you had
Radius, yeah.
Houston 5 hours, you had San Antonio 8 hours, you had Austin like 8 hours, you had Dallas 8 hours. You know, so you could create this little like area of bands. So bands probably, you know, associated with swapping shows with all those areas.
Oh wow, that's a great way to build like
You
a
know?
fucking community.
And so like here you would be like, okay, we have Los Angeles, but when we have like Santa Ana, we have like Orange County, or we have San Diego. Maybe we go up to Ventura, possibly do San Francisco, and on the way back down hit somewhere, you know. So it's the same idea, except y'all had like in the state. It was easier. Maybe even go out to Phoenix, because Phoenix would be like 6 hours, 7 hours.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true.
So if you have that
true.
whole thing, you're like, you create things and then you're trading shows with bands, and so you're going to Houston and then you come back to New Orleans and play, but the band from Houston comes plays New Orleans. That's what like, you know, Exhorder did that a bunch with bands like from Florida and Texas, you know, like with Dead Horse from Texas. Exhorder did that with Atheists from Florida, and then they bring Atheists in to play with them, you know, in the early days. They bring Dead Horse in to play, you know, and then they trade shows. So I think there was a lot of things because of that whole like radius of so many places within that little area within 8 to 10 hours that you could do like weekend jaunts and stuff like that and trade shows.
Okay.
Yeah, Exhorder used to bring in a bunch of bands from Texas to play with.
They bring like Gamacide, Dead Horse. They had tons of
Yeah.
bands from Texas that they bring in. to play.
Didn't Rigor Mortis come down one time with
Yes.
them, I believe?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think that's a connection that you're thinking of, like between New Orleans and Texas. It's just like back then they would just trade shows with bands from out of town, you know.
Like trading shows. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just hear and feel like similarities. You know, I was like, what is it? So it kind of explains it. You're trading shows. Both sounds are playing each other's areas.
Yeah.
It's-
And Houston had so Houston's went through phases as well, but Houston, when I was growing up, had a huge metal scene.
Really?
Yeah, it was huge. That's why like a lot of those tours would go through there, you know. So, I mean, Houston's got a huge scene now. You know, it's kind of came back big time. But you know, Houston was a big thing as far as that, and so bands would trade shows. Exhorder would go trade shows. So I think that relationship you're talking about is because slightly of that, of like trading shows with bands. And I'm sure if you went and looked at like bands like Pacific Northwest, like Seattle, Portland, bands going back and forth trading shows, and they kind of, because you start to get like a subconscious influence of
It's
another
all-
band where
it's
you're
all
not
subconscious.
Yeah, where you're not really directly influenced, but because of being around it, you're sort of influenced.
Totally. You can't help it. We're human. We're just these sponges, man.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like the whole New Orleans, like Louisiana thing, because
Yeah.
it's so rooted in like a lot of like blues and jazz and things like that. I think just being around it, you have some of that like influence or that subconscious influence from it, being around it so much.
It's kind of funny how New Orleans is kind of known for like the jazz, and how like you guys in the metal scene has took it in a whole other direction. With all the bands, the Exhorters, the Crowbars, Downs, you name it.
Yeah.
You know, Soilent Greens, Acid Bass. It's like it's kind of known for like this really rich jazz area, and this whole other thing happened.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Being rebellious kids, I guess. You know? I mean, I've never really listened to like jazz or anything from Louisiana unless I absolutely had to. You know?
I have to listen to this.
Yeah.
I have to.
Exactly. They're going to listen to this again. But, yeah. It's just a bunch of metalheads, I guess. They just got into underground music and it kind of exploded, you know?
found each other, and it really seemed like from me being an outsider, it seemed like it really did explode from like the 80s on, and it's still going. It just like exploded. You know, all kinds of bands came out, and then we'll go out to form like, you know, all kinds of bands and bigger bands. Like I went down like a, you know, New Orleans like trip. You know, I was listening to everybody. Down, Soilent Green, Acid Bath, Goatwhore, and then I topped it off just with my own personal. I started listening to a Drowning Pool, because were you ever in a band with CJ, Ben?
No, he played in Flesh Parade for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were like a grind band from.
Yes.
They had like more death metal earlier, and then they formed more into grindcore.
Yeah,
because
okay.
their drummer Todd was like he's like amazing, like as far as blast beats
really
and
good
stuff. But yeah, he was in Flesh Parade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people don't know. Yeah, dude, CJ played bass in Flesh Parade, which is we call it a grind band, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we're talking grind, hey, give it a listen. It's grind. It's serious shit. And he went on to play guitar in a Drowning Pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah. Did you guys see that happen? Is that CJ? You know, I seen him like, you know, play and like.
Drowning Pool used to play at Zeppelins all the time.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, they're gigantic. Because
Really?
there was a place we used to play in Metairie. There was a place called Zeppelins, and like everybody played there. But it wasn't a big place. It held maybe like 400 people maximum.
Yeah, but Morbid Angel played there.
Yeah.
Dimmu Borgir played there. It was just,
But
it
like
was,
all
where all the shows pretty much.
Yeah,
were.
like all the Crowbar, EyeHateGod. It was like Acid Bath, Soilent Green, all the time used to play there. And Drowning Pool played there a bunch of times, and like nobody was into it. Then all of a sudden, they're like huge. So I don't know what happened right there, but it was like one of those weird situations where they were in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Interesting.
Because they were friends. CJ was friends with the owner Guy. There's a guy, imagine that, a guy named Guy that owned the club.
Perfect.
So he was really good friends with CJ, and he was telling me one time, he was like, that Drowning Pool was playing in Florida, and he was going to go hang out with him for a couple of days.
Okay.
And he gets there, and they have a bus, and he's like, last time I saw them, they had a very small van. And he gets on the bus, and there's like gold records and shit on the bus, and he's like, what the fuck happened here? And apparently they just like blew up, like Drowning Pool just got enormous, like in a short period of time.
Oh, it was just really, it was kind of instant.
Yeah, but then they would play the club that we're talking about, and there was like there'd be like 20 people there.
20 people?
Yeah, yeah.
Right place, the right time?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude. So there were, where was Dave from? The singer?
I think the rest of them were from Texas.
Texas, okay.
There you go, the Texas-Louisiana
Yeah, what
relationship, man.
Is that?
It's right there around the corner, man.
Go straight to Dallas or Fort Worth, and it's only 5 hours away. You know?
Yeah.
I was always curious about that. Like, how did that, you know, how? Because, it's just, Louisiana is more like this heavy scene, and then like where the fuck did Drowning Pool come from? You know, it's like, or being in Flesh Parade, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna try this band. So random.
Yeah, yeah.
I was always curious.
I mean, look at Phil. You know, he was in Razor White in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
and then he hooked up with Pantera in Dallas, Fort Worth. You know.
Mm. Did he just move out there and then join Pantera? What was the?
Yeah, I don't know the full like proper story, but he ended up going there, and then he was living there for a while doing the Pantera thing, you know, and then that eventually just took off.
Interesting. I wonder if that probably wouldn't have happened if there wasn't like this constant like camaraderie between Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and then when you guys are from, where it's just constant bands going back and forth. Maybe it seemed like it became normal.
Yeah, well, like I said, you know, what do you do when you're a band? You're just trying to like trade shows and try to get further and further out as much as you can. So trade shows with other bands.
Trying to trade shows and do as much acid as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude. Razor white. Holy moly. What happened to these haircuts? Are they still around?
I'm sure you can buy wigs at like that
Buy
Halloween
wigs,
yeah.
store and stuff like that.
Dude, I want to shave my head so fucking bad. Wear a wig. I'm over this shit, dude. God, dude. Dude, I'm envious. Zach.
Gotta say, man, it's pretty refreshing.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
Only thing that sucks now is being on stage and the sweat just goes right into my eyes. Before I had a mop to kind of soak it up. You know?
Oh, so maybe that's where our sweat goes to on a mop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's essential to have a towel to wipe down the eyes between songs, and you're good.
I've always told myself if I ever cut my hair, my friends should be very concerned what I'm doing. They said, well, Garza gave up. It's over.
Gave up.
You guys ever think about quitting? I think about quitting all the time.
Why?
But
Why? Yeah.
it's
Are you thinking about quitting, or you just get annoyed with an aspect, and then it's
Yeah.
like the first thing
Yeah.
that goes, I don't want to do this anymore.
yeah, it's
you
like,
know?
well, why am I doing this? Oh, this business comes into play. There's money sometimes. It's like, or this, like a miscommunication or an argument or a bad contract. You're like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
But-
I found that like sometimes I just like I'll step back away from like talking to management and the label. I just step back like for a week, and they're like, we need you to answer something, and I'm just like, yeah, no, not right now. I was like, I just need to get away from this because this aspect is actually making me not like the scenario. And I don't need that, so I need to step away from that and focus more of like the band. You know, so I'll just step back from stuff sometimes and just be like, yeah, you just got to step away. You know, you need that clarity.
So you have to consciously like stop what you're doing and step back.
Yeah, and just be like, you know, I just cut it. Sometimes I just cut it off, and people are just like, you haven't responded. I'm like, yeah, just give me like 5 days or something like that.
Nice. It's like Sammy's over here asking. We need your help.
I mean, you can't take all the fun out of it, man.
Yeah, you
'Cause
still
that's
gotta
what-
have an enjoyable
Yeah,
aspect.
that's
to it.
why we're doing this, because it's fucking fun and it's awesome. And once you get involved in that whole business end of the whole thing, you know, if you're not careful, it'll take the fun out of it. You know what I mean? So you gotta always remember that, like he said, sometimes you just gotta be like, okay, I'll fuck off for a little while because you're taking the fun out of my situation.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it's a machine and it's got a lot of aspects that are important, but the machine ain't gonna go nowhere if you just grind it into the fucking ground, you know? So dudes have to step away and do things. Sure, you probably get home from tour sometime and you're like, you know what, I just need to go somewhere and get away. And people are like, well, you just came off the road. But it's like, yeah, but it's different when you just go somewhere by yourself.
Oh, it's so you can't even compare them, dude.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's just going somewhere with you or you and your significant other. It's so different.
Yeah, it's like people think that when you're on tour, it's like a vacation. Oh, you went to Los Angeles and you get to go see this. It's like, no, I saw the inside of a fucking club all fucking day.
From the inside of a van to the inside of a
exactly.
club.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you were in New York last week. I saw it. You didn't go to the Statue of Liberty? It's like, no, I was stuck in the St. Vitus bar.
Oh my fucking god. Hey, JR, do one more thing. Pull up the video that I sent you finally. The one that I was trying to keep it a secret.
Uh-oh.
This way he drops.
This way he takes acid for the first time.
Oh, Jay, are you? It's the link that I sent you. All right, so Ben,
Yep.
Oh.
this is a request from my band.
All right.
What do you think and feel when you see this?
I think that's like, it's the early stages of me, you know, getting involved in metal. You know, I was in a lot of death metal during that time. You know, I had a bunch of dudes that I was with, that I played with, that like really loved death metal, and that's what we did.
That's sick.
Great
You know?
record.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's great. You know, there's some labels that actually
is.
recently mastered it and put it out. Like
Really?
some label in like Europe, and then
Oh
some
wow.
is I think a label that's up in the Pacific Northwest called like Head Split or something like that, and they put out like a tape version of it and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, you know, people are like, what do you know? I was like, I never look back at any of the stuff I've done and go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You know, I think it's all like a building block to where I am now. You know, and it's an aspect that shows at that point in time, that's what I was doing. That's where I was into, you know. I mean, dude, I think I was like 18, somewhere like that. And
Paralysis, great
I was
band.
like into like death metal, like extremely. Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, all kinds of like obscure like death metal. I had the blinders on, like I wouldn't let anything else in, you know. And then like when I left like Paralysis and I got in Soilent, that's when I opened up even more, because Soilent was so much more like vast with like a lot of different things going on. Like grindcore, like I always thought it was like Napalm Death meets Leonard Skinner. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like this like aspect like grindcore, but then like southern rock, but then mixed with like some other things, you know. And Soilent was around even before like I got into it, you know. So there was a lot of different elements. So it was this thing I liked heavy music. And I liked like the way it came across. So when I was in Paralysis, I did have the blinders on, but then when I got more in Soilent, it kind of opened up a lot more. And then also the guys in Soilent were older than me, and so a lot of them were into like, and so they were into like a lot of shit like Pink Floyd and a lot of like weird aspects. They all smoked a really lot of weed and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
So there was a whole different level of like influence and seeing things in a different light. But still, I was still like into heavy stuff. It just opened up a little bit more, you know? I mean, I grew up listening to like, you know, a bunch of different stuff like from, you know, as far as metal goes, like with like Judas Priest, Exodus, you know, Venom, Bathory, you know, variations. But then when I was in Paralysis, I was like really blinders on with like death metal.
Blinders, boom, this is it. This is.
But I think the record was great, you know, for, you know, our ages and what we were doing at the time. We did a lot of shows. We drove, like, we would do that thing in trade shows with bands. The furthest we went was all the way up to Appleton, Wisconsin. It's up near Green Bay.
Wow.
And I mean, there was a big scene there because that record came out originally on Grindcore Records, and there was bands like Accidental Suicide, Broken Hope from Chicago at the time, you know, all those bands. So there was these things in the trade shows, and that's like the furthest we like drove up to was. I had like a Dodge Dakota truck with like a cover on the back, and we had a U-Haul trailer. That's how we were rolling, and everybody would pile up in the back of the truck because they had like a little cover thing.
Oh yeah. The old truck cover.
Yeah.
Dang, dude. To think like doing something like that to where your band is now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
No, and I come across people like all over the place. Like we played Mexico City with Sodom once.
Nice.
With Goatwhore. And this dude rolled up. I was standing watching Sodom, and he comes up and he goes, "Will you sign this?" And he's got a Paralysis tape, like in Mexico City. I was like, "That's awesome. That's really fucking cool."
Damn. Well, because enough time has passed to where people will seek out this stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Like, people want to hear it, but they want to actually hold it. You know, there's like a resurgence. I mean, like talking like, you know, 2016, 17 is a resurgence of like acid bath. You know, it's just it must be so weird to put out something at the time. Does anyone even care? And then to have years later, like people come back and like, whoa, what the fuck?
It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange how that happened.
Yeah.
It's like weird, because like when we were together, not a lot of people cared about that band, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like you have all these, I guess it's like a younger generation that's totally embracing it. So it's very strange to see that kind of happen like that, you know?
Strange, huh?
Yeah, weird.
Well, I mean, that was a while ago. It's time. Sometimes time just needs to pass.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you have nowadays too, because of like a younger generation and the like accessibility to a lot of things now.
I think that has a lot.
You know?
That has a lot to do
like
with
too,
it
like,
as well.
Then I was like tape trading, like
The full-on tape
people
trading.
overseas and stuff, and swapping tapes back and forth, and people would like take demos and put them on like one tape, send them to you, and then you would put some demos together, some bands you knew, and then send it back. So, you know, I mean, we didn't have like Bandcamp and all those kind of things now. But that was like the Bandcamp then, and people would trade tapes back and forth. And then when somebody would send you a tape, they'd send you all these like little flyers to like other new little bands that were coming out and stuff, and you'd send like $5 in the mail to get this demo or whatever, Dude, I sent so much money through the mail that like I'm surprised I didn't lose like all of it, because that's just how it was. You just send cash in the mail wherever, and get demos and shirts and stuff like that.
You put
Send
money
me
in the
buttons,
envelope.
stickers, anything extra that you got.
Like I was
send it all to me.
yeah, and
I
hope,
was
for,
a
hope for the
huge-
best.
Huge like Paradise Lost fan for like Lost Paradise and Gothic, and I was just like, I couldn't find any merch, so I just sent them like $30. Just like I saw the address and I sent $30. I was like, I'd like to get a shirt, and then I forgot about it. And one day I got this package, fucking stamped from England and everything like that. I opened it up and it was a long sleeve Paradise Lost shirt, and I was just like, holy shit, it worked. Because you were just randomly sending cash. I mean, you weren't supposed to send cash in the mail, but I would send cash. Like, and also like Nuclear Blast used to have the hugest like mail order thing out of Germany to order stuff. And me and a friend of mine, he played guitar in Paralysis. We would get together and we'd pick items, and then you'd have to pick items, but then you'd have to have alternate items because some things would run out or whatever.
Got it.
And so you do it, and we'd get like a international money order, send it off. 3 months later, you get this package in. You don't know what it would be in it, and you sit around together, open it up, listen to all the records, Oh, no, we've got this. It sounds like shit. Oh, this is amazing. This is, So you were taking risks, You didn't even do that in the stores. Like when you go to the stores, you'd see the tapes of the records, and you'd kind of look at the picture of the band or the cover.
What
and you'd be
label
like,
it was on.
Yeah, what label, and you'd be
It's on
like,
Combat. I'll take.
I
I'll
saved
take a
my
chance
lunch
on
money
it.
from school for this week, and this is what I'm gonna try to buy, and then maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't. I mean, that's like we were talking about like Celtic Frost, like when I first bought Morbid Tales. I remember pulling that out and like looking at the cover, going, "Oh, I've got to have this. I don't know what it is, I don't know what it sounds like, but I have to have this because the way it looked."
Yeah, it was the same thing with me with Two Megatherion.
Yeah.
Where it's an H.R. Geiger cover of him using Jesus of a crucifix as a slingshot.
Yeah.
So I saw that cover on a cassette, and I was like, oh, yes, this has to be awesome. And I had no idea what it was going to sound like. And I just bought it on based on the cover, and I put it in, and I was like, this sounds like the cover.
Yeah.
I was extremely stoked, and that's when the moment on that became my favorite band of all time.
Yeah, that's good. Like okay, y'all are both like younger as far as like us old three.
37.
But didn't you do things like that where you just bought stuff on a whim? Like you were just like in a store, you didn't know anything about it. There wasn't no information. Couldn't go listen to it on like internet or anything like that.
No.
So you were just like, I'm taking a risk. And sometimes the risk worked out
Sometimes
really great.
didn't. Yes,
Sometimes
it did,
you were
yeah.
like, oh no, I'm stuck with this.
Oh yeah,
shit.
it's
Had that happen many times.
Yep, they like, why did I buy this? It's like the cover is a lot cooler than what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I'm not going to eat food for a week, so I could buy
Yeah.
this CD. It's what happens. And you'll have some friends in school that will like kind of share some like snacks. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
Or you and your friend would work together. Like you would be like, I'm gonna buy this and you buy this.
Yeah.
And we'll like share it and we'll
It's like,
swap
hey
it
man,
back and forth.
I've got this Cerebral Fix cassette. I trade me for some spaghetti.
Oh my goodness. That's a good trade. That's a pretty sick trade, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And now we have this crazy technology with cell phones and this. You can literally put a band name. I'll get shocked sometimes putting a band name on Spotify and just pull up.
Yeah.
I
really like. I was talking to somebody recently about Bandcamp. I really like Bandcamp because Bandcamp reminds me of demo trading, but more of like a modern digital way. Because there's big bands on it, but there's so many small bands, and when you're searching stuff, it definitely brings you down those rabbit holes, and you're like, wow, this is cool. This is really cool. I discovered on it's not even metal. It's a label called Cryo Chamber, and they do put out all these like dark ambient soundscape things.
Okay.
And I discovered them through Bandcamp, and every year they put out it's a collaboration of all their artists, but each one that comes out is based off like an H.P. Lovecraft like mythos type thing.
Okay.
And it's just dark ambient soundscape stuff, like 3 hours, 4 hours of it, but I like it. It's like kind of like an escape, and it gets
Yeah.
away. And sometimes I like to use it when I write lyrics because it just like clears me out, and then I can just sit down and write stuff. But I discovered them through Bandcamp, and I was like, man, this label's great, and I'll turn people on to them and everything. But if you look through, they have like different. They do like it's like a H.P. Lovecraft kind of base thing, and what they do is it's a collaboration of all the artists that they put out. You know, watch, keep scrolling down. It usually has a pretty, like that one, right there, the third one, down, right there. So each one, and they usually have pretty cool artwork and everything too.
Oh wow, the artwork's pretty
And they
sick.
sell it, you know, digital. They sell like real CDs and stuff like that. So
And see the artwork here. Okay,
yeah.
I need to give Bandcamp a try.
Yeah, it's
so-
great because you can go in and listen to, and then like, at one point it shuts down and says, "Stop being a cheap ass and purchase something." You know?
of course.
But some of them are like pay your own price. You know, like you find a band on there and they're like, "Okay, the record's like $5," and you're like, "Well, this sounds really good. I'm gonna give you $10." You know, so you can pay what you
That's
want,
sick.
like more if you want.
That's
them.
cool.
And then when you buy something through them too, you get like all the variations of like. You can get MP3 or you can get WAV or you know what I'm saying? Like, so you can get like proper quality audio files or just like MP3 compressed files. So it gives you, and it's unlimited once you purchase it. So you can go back and get like a better version quality wise if you just downloaded the MP3 of it. And then like some places also sell like the actual real formats of everything as well.
That's a great concept.
Yeah.
It's cool that they give you like all the options. Okay, you get a MP3, or you get the wave, you know, whatever quality you want.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what is the better quality? It's a wave.
WAV's supposed to be better than an MP3, right? Yeah.
It's definitely larger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. So I assume more sound.
We
in it.
need Eric Rutan here. Eric knows.
He would
those
answer
ones.
that question. Yeah, he would be like,
He's got like
Listen here, kids.
he introduced us to like it's a site that just all they sell is high quality stuff, and he made like Hate Eternal stuff, like really high res that you could purchase and listen to. Because Eric's ears are like insane, you know, like his
it's like
hearing quality.
it's like supersonic bat ears, dude.
I'll be sitting there and I go, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, I'm going deaf. I don't hear a fucking thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I forget what album we were recording with him, and he was like, guitar's out of tune. And I'm like, there's no way. And I thought it was you or Zack. I was like, dude, do you hear this? Does this sound out of tune? He's like, no, it sounds fine. And he goes, listen really fucking, listen really hard for this certain sound. And once I heard it, I was like, fuck, it's out of tune. So he taught me how to hear shit in a different way that totally fucked everything up for me. Because everything's out of tune now.
Everything's out of tune.
Everything's out of tune. Nothing is ever going to be in tune ever again.
That's true. Yeah, it's like once you hear something, you can't unhear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I start hearing it like on every recording that I listen to,
no.
like everything. And it's just like, fuck. But I don't hear it on the Hate Eternal stuff for some reason.
Well, shout out to Eric, legend, man. So you guys are out on the EyeHateGod tour now. They're celebrating 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, here's the dates.
30 years of
Take Us
Take-
Needed
the
for
second
Pain.
record.
Yeah. 30 years of that's the second record, yes.
Well, it started in Austin.
Yep.
It's pretty sick. So that was kind of a somewhat hometown show, right?
Yeah. Yeah. it was
Robert?
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
It was a really good one. It was hot as fucking balls, but it was a really good show.
It's kind of a long one. No, it's not. What is this?
25
It's like
shows.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know?
It's like 3.5.
I
25 shows.
like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. At this point, I started to go loony. 3 weeks
Yeah.
is good.
You know what cures you that?
What?
Take some acid.
Well, I just got some mushrooms low key, so we'll see what happens next
Oh
week.
yeah.
There you go. That's good enough, you know?
See.
It's your first time for mushrooms?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
man.
How you doing? Are you gonna go like? Are you doing a huge dose? Or are you gonna do like a small dose and like slip into it slowly?
I'm thinking of doing the slip in slowly, but then again, I might just lose it in the last second and just do a big one.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
With mushrooms, go big. Go big.
Go big or go home.
Go big and stay home. That's
about right.
That's what I'm planning
That's
to
about
do.
right.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Well, cool. Let's see. Where Jay, blow it up a little bit. I want to see what the last day is. Last day is the 23rd.
In Lafayette, Louisiana.
Of course, it ends there. That's sick.
At the old Feed and Seed. Never played there, but heard a lot of good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, dudes, I just want to say that I appreciate your time. I appreciate that you guys made the trip down here.
Yeah, we
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
us.
having
Thanks
us
for
on here.
It was
man.
cool.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Huh?
Where can people find you? Like social media, internet, YouTube?
Oh, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the usuals.
Yeah, you know.
Just look up the Goatwhore. Let's see. Instagram is at Goatwhore NOLA. And
Nice.
then Twitter is
Great.
like, I think it's like Goatwhore
Underscore NOLA. Yeah.
NOLA.
Our Twitter account.
Oh yeah, you
hijacked.
can go to our wonderful link tree, and we got everything there as well.
I'll put the link in the bio and stuff. So
Yeah.
I fucked up with the monster and the beer. I'm gonna pee my pants. But again, guys, thank you. It's great. It's great hanging.
No,
And,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you
awesome.
very much. We
Hell yeah.
appreciate it, man.
Next time we come, we're just gonna take a bunch of acid and see what happens.
Oh, I'm down.
I
Next
just
time.
totally
Stay on
totally
the air,
black
keep
out
going.
the room. Just take some acid.
Yeah,
and
we'll
see
do that
what
with the
happens.
mushrooms. Like wear blindfold and just put music on.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Is that something that you used to do? Like you put like a blindfold and do
Well,
mushrooms?
they
I mean,
say,
I think you should do it.
yeah, you should do it. You should do it.
Really?
So,
Okay.
what's told is that like, so it's good like being on psilocybin like visually is really fucking interesting. But if you get rid of the vision thing, you focus more on mental and hearing. You know what I'm saying? So put a black like blindfold on, and then
Just go.
yeah,
Let's
or a
go.
pink blindfold. But as long as it's blackout, you know, whatever
Okay.
color you want, you can have it purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. What about for should you do music or no music?
No, do music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do some mixtures of stuff.
Oh, you can
I'd say
do-
have a friend too with you.
Or you
Okay?
can do both. You can listen to music for a little while and take a little break and just let
Yeah.
it get real quiet and see what
Go
really
outside
happens.
for a minute and enjoy some air and scenery, and then
Yeah.
go back to some music.
Make sure you put aside about
then
6
take more
hours or so.
mushrooms.
6 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And just wait till I just pass out. I'll just.
You might not even pass. Like you might be like come out of it and you want to do everything and anything.
Oh shit! Well, that's sick too. Well, we just let the whole world know what I'm doing next week. All right, everyone. Until next time, appreciate it. Later.
Cheers.
Thank you.